I'm Josh Martins. I'm here with Marie Pepe, and we're here to talk about your new book.
Abundantly You, on purpose, in business, face the fear of the unknown.
That is a mouthful.
It is. It definitely is.
Right.
But they're words that are they're very profound, and each part of the title speaks to its own population of people.
Oh, right, yeah. That's a good touch. So, for the watchers at home who have no idea what this book is about, how would you summarize it, I guess?
Okay, so essentially what the book is that we're talking about right now, it's a spiritually based blueprint for women entrepreneurs. There's really no other way that I could describe it other than to say that it really is a blueprint. It's for women who, and for men to some degree, but it was written by women for women.
Yeah.
Who are sort of spirit-based, heart-centered women entrepreneurs. And there's several authors that have contributed to the book. For myself, I was one of the authors, obviously, but it's really an inspirational piece and shows women who've gone through different struggles in running a business and starting up a business, that they're not alone and that there definitely is support and there are people out there who understand that.
Okay, all right. So, why exactly were you chosen, or were...
Yeah, it's actually a funny story, Josh. I was chosen, although in the beginning, I certainly did not feel that I was ready to do it. But I was contacted essentially by the lead author, the lead anthologist of the series, and her name is Antoinette Sykes. And she herself is a life and business coach. And she contacted me through email just about a year ago. And she said that she had seen some of the work I was doing, on social media with my life coaching business. And she asked me if I would be a contributing author. And I'll be honest, in the beginning, I was very scared. And
It sounds daunting, yeah.
yeah, and I thought, oh my goodness, like I hadn't been in business that long for myself. And to think that she was already calling upon me to speak about being an abundant business owner. And I got scared. And so at first I said no. And then within a week's time, there were just so many divine signs and so many connections that I knew it was meant to be. So I scrambled and I called her back and I said, Antoinette, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's make this happen. And then we just ran with it.
And this is your first writing experience?
It is. Yeah, it most definitely is. I mean, I've always enjoyed writing, but it was more like journaling or writing a paper for school or something to that nature. This was definitely very much so my first real professional piece.
Okay. And was that difficult for you, having this first experience? Did it feel like...
I had an excellent literary strategist, and I had the support of Antoinette, who's the anthologist. But I had a wonderful literary strategist and editor. Her name is Anna Weber. So Anna, when you get to see this, hi, and thank you so much. She knows how much I love her. And so things were done in a very orderly fashion. I didn't feel lost. There were times where I was working against a deadline and I had to absolutely get it going. But for the most part, this really was a smooth transition for myself.
So you were given structure and experience.
Yes, very much so.
Is that you? Okay. I was very confused. Now, obviously this is a autobiographical...
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Now, what exactly is the subject matter that you specifically were writing about?
Okay, so I specifically wrote about how I was able to take what was originally perceived as being a very negative experience in my life and how I was able to then transform my own life and and become an entrepreneur. So basically what had happened was about 4 years ago, I was involved in a motor vehicle accident.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I was a massage therapist. And I absolutely loved being a massage therapist. But the accident rendered me unable to perform those duties anymore. And for a very long time, I had kind of sunk in very deeply inward. I didn't know what to do with myself. I feel like I lost my livelihood when that accident happened. And even though I had a lot of education and I had graduate degrees and all of that, it really didn't matter because I kind of lost my self-confidence. I lost myself in that process. So not only did I feel physically injured, but I also felt emotionally wounded.
And spiritual.
Yeah, and very much so in a very dark place. And it took me a couple of years. I kind of dabbled in jobs, but nothing was really rewarding or fulfilling. It took me a couple of years, and I finally got back on my feet. I went into the education system because one of my degrees is in teaching, and I taught for a while, but the shoulder injury never went away, and eventually I had to have surgery on my left shoulder.
Yeah.
So I had the surgery thinking, okay, well, great, we're going to get the problem fixed, and then I'll be able just to go right back to teaching again and doing, what I had come to love. And that wasn't the case. The surgery was much more complicated than I thought it would be, than even my surgeon thought it would be. And so at the age of 35, I was not able to go back to work in a traditional sense. Doing the whole 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5 job was just out of the question.
So your whole life is essentially being pulled out from underneath you.
It was being pulled out from underneath me.
And one after another, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And what I wound up doing was sitting down one day and just saying, I threw my hands up and I said to God, you show me the way. Because I tried doing it the first time around when the massage therapy was taken from me. And that didn't work. I was depressed, I was lost, I was hurting for a long time. And I said to him, you take the reins on this one, do what's necessary, direct my footsteps, show me the way. And I sat back and I really reflected, and I allowed myself space and time to be able to hear his words rather than trying to do it on my own. And it was within probably a couple of weeks or so I started thinking of this idea of life coaching and, was it a way that I could earn an income while at the same time following something I was passionate about. I knew, like I said, going into work as a therapist, which I had done in a previous position, that was sort of out of the question. Being in a traditional office setting for me was out of the question. I was going through physical therapy. I needed to be home. I needed to rest. And, a new life was born right at that moment.
Yeah, it seems like everything that you've done, this, and even with this, it's in service.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
I've always been service-oriented, so this sort of fell along the lines.
Yeah, that's very admirable. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely. I call myself heart-centered and service-based, and that's essentially the women that I work with are heart-centered entrepreneurs. And
what do you mean by heart-centered? Is
heart-centered meaning, so I work with other women who feel like they're being called to a particular craft or being called to a higher purpose, not necessarily working a day job or working in a position that they don't feel in alignment with.
Okay.
So service-based.
So what most people are doing.
Exactly. And this opportunity, I've looked back on it now and I've actually thanked God for everything I've gone through, for all my struggles, for all of the tears that I've shed. I mean, in honesty, it really has been a blessing in disguise because I would have never recognized this part of myself, this piece of myself that I wouldn't have known existed.
And also, I guess it becomes fuel, right?
It was fuel. It was fuel it was fuel absolutely to yeah, I mean, I can go on, but it was definitely a lot of fuel to breathe that fire of passion that I already had.
So, as of now, do you see writing as a sort of, not necessarily a career, because I guess you have a career, but I guess something that you can add on to
Yes.
your skill set?
Yes, most definitely. I actually have my second book already.
Oh, I was going to ask you about that, yeah.
In the works. I'm not saying much about a title or anything yet, but I write every single day, essentially.
Okay.
And usually it's more of like a blog post, but it tends to be a very supportive, nurturing, encouraging, inspiring piece. And I use a lot of my own experiences to then talk to my audience. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is taking all of those pieces that I've written every day and then turning them into my second book. So most definitely, it will definitely be an addition to the life coaching services that I offer.
So how has the feedback been? You obviously have
It's been
some following.
Yeah, I do. It's a small following, but hey, everybody starts somewhere.
And I don't think I don't think the size matters.
Exactly.
It's the passion
For
of the
me, it's
people
not
involved.
about numbers. For me, it's about the women who've purchased my book and them taking a picture of themselves holding it, and then tagging themselves on Facebook with it, or because I do a lot of work on Facebook, on all the other social media channels as well, but Facebook just happens to be one of the
Your primary.
one of my primary vehicles. And so I had an online launch and everything went really well. I had a lot of women who were supportive of me. My editor was amazing. And everyone just seeing that excitement, I mean, I couldn't help but feel good on the inside.
Yeah.
And then glow on the outside, of course, too.
Now, I have a bunch of questions here.
That's okay.
We can go into more writing stuff. Like, was it particularly challenging in terms of this first sort of foray into the craft?
Yes, it was. It was in the sense that I wasn't sure how to go about writing my story, because that's essentially what each of the authors was supposed to do.
Yeah, I guess self-reflection is the most difficult.
Yeah, and it really was, because in some ways it was the first, it really challenged me to look at my previous experiences and everything I had gone through. And it was the first time that I was able to put my voice in print. And I love that. My editor, that's her tagline, voices in print. And it's true. I mean, I had this story already within me, but this was the opportunity to then be able to put it down on paper and get it out there. But of course, I mean, there were challenges along the way, and there were questions along the way, and there were phone calls along the way that I had to make, and it was a learning process for sure.
Yeah, I would imagine the first time being
very gratifying, but a learning curve for sure.
I always find just any learning is always
Absolutely.
very gratifying, right?
Absolutely.
It allows you to grow. Yeah. Was there anything that was specifically difficult, maybe revisiting, that area of yourself that you sort of put away?
Yeah, there was. There most definitely was. I would say what was most difficult for me was having to really look at myself and understand so much had transpired after the car accident, and I think for a long time I didn't really want to take ownership of how I chose to live my life after that. And by that I mean I knew that I had a lot of talent. I knew that I was being called to a higher purpose, but I ignored it. And the truth is I was scared. And so that's why the title, my subtitle is, Face the Fear of the Unknown, because I essentially had to do that not once, but twice in my adult life in a very short period of time. It was after the accident. What do I do now? I was a massage therapist, didn't know what I was going to do. finally get back on my feet, go into teaching, and then I have the surgery, and again I have to start over, and again I have to figure out who am I, where am I going, what am I doing, and I knew deep down that there was something bigger, and that was a challenge for me to really have to dig deep and figure out what it was.
If you don't mind me asking, what kind of teaching were you doing? Was it high school or younger kids?
Originally I got my degree in middle and secondary education, but with a concentration in history. And so while I never actually became a history teacher, I was working in a school district as a special education paraprofessional.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and I loved that as well. I mean, it was very service-based. I loved working with the kids. It was wonderful.
And those kids need
Yeah.
all the help that they can get, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So.
I always saw when I was in school a lot of the time, especially with special needs kids, it's so, like, it almost felt like there's almost nothing being done to help. Right?
Yeah, so that was a challenge in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I saw how hard the teacher that I was working with, day and night, she just worked so hard to make these kids succeed. So,
Yeah, it always felt like those teachers were doing triple the work of everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I respect teachers on the whole, but I have to say, having worked with a few different teachers, the special ed teachers definitely it's like double time. Absolutely.
Now, I guess the book itself is the message that you're trying to get out, but if you had to give that to the watchers, I guess, what would be the primary message that you're trying to portray with your book and I guess your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you asked me that question, because I've really been, working on my craft as a life coach, and I've really been figuring out who it is I want to serve and what is it that I want to teach people. And in writing every day, it's sort of magically just kind of come out. And the takeaway message that I really want people to walk away with, whether it's watching this program, whether it's listening to me on the radio, whether it's reading my post on my website or following me on Facebook or whatever it is, what I want people to know is that there is so much more to life than what they see at face value at first. And there's nothing more sad to me than when I see someone who's barely surviving each day, when I know that person can be thriving. When people are living in mediocrity and I see in them the potential to do great things, to make a huge impact on the world. And I say that because I was there.
Yeah.
I've walked that walk. I've talked that talk. If I told you some of the jobs that I took after my car accident just to have a job, I was doing telemarketing for like $8 an hour. Here I was, I had 2 master's degrees and a license in massage therapy, but because I didn't feel good about myself and I didn't value my own self-worth, I took menial tasks and menial jobs. And I'm grateful that I did, because it definitely showed me and it humbled me in so many ways. But I worked at a gym at the front desk, and while that may seem glamorous, part of my job at the end of the night was to go and clean the restrooms. And is that glorious? Is that glamorous? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I know in retrospect that I was only surviving. I had settled for mediocrity. I had settled to live a life that I thought I deserved for whatever reason that I was holding myself hostage to, or I was holding myself prisoner to. And so now that I was able to come through and I'm not saying come through with flying colors. This has been a challenge for me.
Life's a challenge.
Life is a challenge. But I want that now more so for anybody else. So the women I work with now, they come to me and they feel stuck. They feel stuck in their 9-to-5 jobs. They're not happy. They're stressed. They're depressed. And I want so much for these women and for men in general. I just want people in general to thrive.
I think it's easier to connect
it's
with.
easier to relate to
Yeah,
women for me.
yeah.
But by all means, I just want people in general to thrive, not to survive, not to feel like they're less than because they didn't go to an Ivy League school, or, all that stuff becomes, it's like it's not important anymore if you're not happy.
Exactly.
At the end
It's
of the
almost
day.
meaningless if
Exactly.
you're not
Exactly.
right in yourself.
Exactly. So like I wake up every day now absolutely loving my life. And I know that may seem so foreign of a concept to anyone who's watching, because it was foreign to me at one time. I used to get up dreading my day, hating my life, not feeling rewarded, not feeling successful, not feeling fulfilled. And I know what that's like, and I just don't want that for anyone else.
How much do you feel, on that note, how much do you feel societal pressures kick in on that particular mindset? Because I feel like the majority of people feel that way when they wake up every day, right?
I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
And
I feel like I'm watching TV, and
Yeah.
half of what TV is telling me is you suck.
Yeah, and absolutely, absolutely,
right?
and I'm so glad that you said that. One of the things that I learned as I began to associate myself with other people just like myself, right? So people who were on the entrepreneurial path, people who were other life coaches, people who were heart-centered, people who were spirit-driven, purpose-driven, passion-driven. So I consider these people my colleagues now, right? And although I may not see them physically every day and interact with them in an office, our conversations, whether they're on the phone or whether they're in email or whatever they are absolutely amazing. And that's funny because that's what my post was about today. It was about that we're not even in competition with each other. Like there's other life coaches out there who do the same thing that I do. And I truly wish them nothing but the best, because I don't have a lack mindset anymore. My mindset is so open to abundance in the universe that I don't feel like I have to compete with anyone. Like my own success journey is my own. And because someone else succeeds, it doesn't diminish.
It doesn't mean that you're failing.
No, it doesn't diminish my success in any way. In fact, I want more people to succeed. I
guess-
feel like the world would be a better place if we all lived
Yeah.
up to our potential.
Especially in this field, right? I think the more people that are doing well, the better it is for everyone.
Absolutely. And that is truly what I want for people. That's what I talk about on the radio programs. It's what I write about. It's really, I finally feel connected to my higher purpose. And it's a beautiful feeling to go to bed at night feeling satisfied and to wake up every morning with excitement. Because I know how many people are out there, they just hate their jobs. They hate the way they're treated by their employers. They don't like the politics that go on, the drama that goes on. I don't have that anymore. I worked in environments like that. When I was doing
Soul-crushing.
telemarketing, oh my God, was it soul crushing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially in commission-based places. And
Oh
things
my
like that,
God,
yeah.
it was soul crushing. Having people hang up in my face, call me nasty names. I don't have that anymore.
And your worth is dictated by the
Absolutely.
amount of money that you're making on a particular framework of time. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the irony is, I actually got fired from that job. And you know what, though? You know what's sad about it? I actually cried. I cried when I got fired
That's
from
never
that
going to be a
job.
good feeling, right?
And I feel like now, you know what? Thank you for firing me.
Yeah. Right.
Hasta la vista. Have a good life. Thank you for firing
Absolutely.
me. You did me a favor.
Yeah.
So.
No, we don't have to put this in if you don't want. I've been meaning to ask, are you like, I don't know, it's sort of like a taboo question, right? Like, are you religious, or is it just sort of...
Okay, so yeah, you can absolutely ask me that. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
I'm very spiritual. I was raised Catholic, and I do practice Catholicism. But if someone were to ask me, are you overtly religious? Yes and no. Like I do adhere to many of the Catholic churches'
Like doctrine?
teachings and things of that nature. Do I 100% believe in everything that it says? No. And that's just me being honest. I have friends who are from all walks of faith. I have friends who have all different sexual orientations. I have friends who, they just lead different lifestyles.
And it's not rewarding, right? It teaches you.
Exactly. And so for me, I operate out of a source of love, and I'm Christian oriented and Christian based. So I like to speak of myself more as a Christian.
Yeah. And
with a loving, open mind.
Okay. Yeah, because you said God, and when I hear that, I tend to think Christian, rather than, or Jewish or things like that, right?
Right. So first and foremost, I am a Christian.
That was just my own
observation.
and also just curiosity.
Absolutely.
Now, you said that you've always liked to write. Did you ever imagine that this was going to be something you were going to be doing in your life?
Maybe as a young kid I did. Maybe like when I was in middle school and I would write stories and I'd get really great feedback from my teachers. And I mean, even a couple of my college professors told me I should write and stuff. But to be honest, to see it through and be able to hold a physical, tangible, printed book, I don't know that I ever saw that. I had written for scientific journals, and that's a little bit different.
Oh, wow.
That's when I was doing more psychology-ended stuff. So I had some journal articles that were published, and that doesn't have the same kind of feeling as when you go on Amazon and you see yourself, in an author profile, and you see yourself on Barnes & Noble's website and on Amazon's website, and you start to have a following. That I never foresaw.
Yeah.
That just sort of evolved.
Now, you do life coaching.
I do.
So that must take you places. You must be going across the country and things like that, right?
Well, it's funny you should say that, but I do go across the country, but it's all virtually.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, so it's...
So I have clients in all states. I have colleagues in nearly every state and every country. Twitter followers from all over the world.
Yes.
It's amazing what the online presence can do for us. And one of the reasons I'm grateful for it is because of my shoulder and the way that I have rehabilitated, or therefore not fully rehabilitated, because I'm still working on it. I mean, I still have restrictions in my shoulder and in my left shoulder, and I've not really been able to travel much.
okay.
Yeah, so can I coach anyone? Absolutely. As long as obviously our personalities jive and
and the rapport is good.
And I'm the person they're looking for, and they're the client I'm looking for.
I guess it's kind of like psychology.
Very much so, very much so. But I've not traveled, and I've not
Physically.
gone. Yeah, and it really is because of my shoulder. So there's many days where I need to still have a heating pack on my neck and my shoulder to stay relaxed or whatever. And so for me, it's a perfect fit to be able to do this from my home.
So I guess like video.
Yeah,
I can do.
We can do. I've done everything from Skype to Zoom. Zoom calls, which are done by a webinar. Actually, I have one at 9:00 tonight. But that's with my website designer. So, and on the phone. I mean, good old fashioned talking on the phone. And in some ways, I think it opens up more possibility for my audience, because it does not limit me geographically.
Exactly, right? And also the perspective of getting sort of a global...
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I've talked to people in Australia. I've talked to people in New Zealand. I've got colleagues from, Egypt and colleagues from South Africa. I mean, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
To be able to get online with them and see them visually or hear their voices, and it's been really a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's the world we live in now, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And lastly, Lisa Marie, sorry. Is there anything that you would like to tell the audience at home? Any prospective readers?
Yes, absolutely. I want you to know that no matter what you're going through in life, there are people who understand you. There are people who are going through the same exact things that you've been through. And to never give up. Never, ever, ever give up. The road might be dark right now. You may not be able to see the light. But I promise you, if you hang on, if you do the work, if you align yourself with someone who can support you, things will get better. That's really my whole mission, is just to empower people to feel better about themselves, empower people to take control of their lives. I know people are going through a lot of tough stuff right now. I've gone through the tough stuff. I know how hard it is. I know that it sucks. But by all means, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. You're far too important. And you have way too much to accomplish on this earth before you give up.
That's quite the message. I very much align myself with that. I like that a lot.
Thanks.
Now, Lisa Marie, where can we find more of you social media?
Thanks for asking. So essentially, the best place to be would probably just start on my website. And the name of my company is Positive Transformation. So the website is www.positivetransformation.net.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah. And the other way to find me is if you find that you relate to me and you want to, you want to get in touch with me, you can. And that phone number is 203-671-0139. I invite you to call to schedule the appointment. And lastly, if you are into social media and you have Facebook or any other social media platform, simply type in my name, Lisa Marie Pepe, and I promise you, you'll find me.
Okay.
You can Google me and you'll find me.
That makes it real simple, really easy. All right, thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for giving us your time. It's been a very great pleasure.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time as well.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, take good care.